Anthony, you're a young single man dating, meeting women on a regular basis, attracting women on a regular basis. Is marriage important?
Extremely so. Like they're saying, I agree completely that it's necessary for civilization, and without it, it's not going to last. The West will die, and we'll enter what comes after the West if it falls from the collapse of families and marriages and things, as we're seeing, along with the collapse of gender relations, would be like the next dark age. So I'd prefer that to not happen. I'd prefer we have a renewal and a new enlightenment, a masculine enlightenment, like I talked about in my speech, a masculine rebirth, a feminine rebirth, which I think is basically what we're seeing with the manosphere. I will diverge a little bit, though, in that and I have been for several years now, since about 2012, I've been very opposed to government involvement in marriage. I think the government has done nothing but fuck up marriage since it got involved, and it's been particularly bad since the 1980s when Reagan made no-fault divorce like a nationwide thing. And we're seeing that go off the rails now with alimony and child support and all this divorce, all the whole divorce. In the manosphere, we call it divorce rape or divorce rape culture, and that's very real. It's unhealthy and it's toxic, and government is fundamental to this. It's not just feminists and feminism and all this. Government is the tool and the method that they use, the hammer they use to do this. Government is a big problem in marriage, and government needs to get out. Marriage is important, but it should be a private religious ceremony. And I'm saying that as an atheist. So if you're not religious, it would not be religious in that case, but most people are, to my knowledge. So it would be a private religious ceremony, which I did on my own years ago, back in 2014. And that's what I'll do again at some point in the future when I'm building a family, when I find a good baby mama. So between now and then, I'm single, though. But yeah, government and marriage, big fucking no-no. And like I talked about with Paul Elam, it does nothing but cause problems. Not only in terms of risk management for men, but also it gives women today, because the government has been weaponized against men in this way, it gives women an unhealthy imbalance of power in their direction, which even if nothing ever happens, you're just putting a bunch of, like Judgy Bitch, this blogger, great blogger chick, Socrates knows her too. She said once that if she was given a choice early on in the full fact, she would not have gotten legally married to her husband, but would have still built a life with him. Because she said basically getting married as a woman, to a man, it's like someone's giving you a loaded gun, pointing it at your husband's head, and they're like, don't pull the trigger for the next 40 years. It's better just not have the fucking gun. So yeah, government involvement in marriage is a big problem. They need to get out. And Congressman Ron Paul, former congressman, was a big advocate of this, so is Senator Rand Paul currently. And I think a few other politicians currently are interested in this. If I can interject, Socrates taught me once about crazy women. There's plenty of them out there, right? BP chicks and stuff, whatnot. And he told me that, he said maybe in a speech and told me directly that if the vampire can only come into your home if you invite the vampire in. And he was referring more specifically to crazy women, bringing them into your life, and the problems that comes with, right, as a man. But I view it also in terms of government inviting it into your home. You need to keep the government out of your home unless it's an absolute emergency. Domestic violence, things like that. Otherwise, keep the shit out of your home. Marriage is an obvious one. You don't need the government to have a wedding. You have a wedding. You can trade rings. You can trade last names. They can legally take your last name. There's a lot you can do on your own without government officiating it and getting involved and tipping the balance of power in a woman's direction, which she doesn't want anyway. She wants to be submissive and be your woman. The government is a big fucking problem with this, or a big lopsided problem with it.
I recently announced to my audience on YouTube and social media that I'm open to marriage for the first time in 17 years after a divorce. And the comments have been very interesting. Everything from, Ratza Ruck to I wouldn't get married as long as the government has anything to do with it. And all I said was that I'm open to marriage. And if it doesn't happen, then that's fine. I have no problem. I've lived successfully for 17 years. But people feel very, very strongly about the issue. I think marriage is important. Many people said, I would do it, but I wouldn't do it through the government. Same thing. Same thing. Jennifer Molesky, is marriage important?